You're listening to Kizuki, the podcast. I'm Mae Yoshikawa, and I define the Japanese concept of Kizuki as the following. Kizuki 1. A moment of epiphany, an aha of realization or insight which opens the knower to a new dimension of truth that was formerly unknown. 2. Steps in an incremental growth of awareness, resulting in a movement from ignorance to greater awareness of the bigger picture. A kind of knowing that cannot be undone, that cannot be unrealized. As a longtime yoga and meditation practitioner, a world traveler, and curious self-explorer, I'm obsessed with Kizukis. Listen on each week for inspiring and enlightening stories that may just tip you over for your next aha. On this week's episode, no accounting. People, today we are going to talk about love. Love, 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 love. We talk about it from all different angles and all sorts of ways, but true love, there is only one of them. Now, remember that song from the Broadway musical Rent about seasons of love? How did the lyrics go? 5,000, 2,500. Wait, no, how does it go? 500, 25,600 minutes. There we go. I think I got that right. How do we measure a year in a life? How do we measure a year in a life? In daylights, in sunsets, in midnights, in cups of coffee, in inches, in miles, in laughter, in strife. How do we measure a year in a life? What about love? Measure in love is how that song goes. But how do we measure love? Isn't that the whole point? That love is immeasurable. True love is absolutely and completely immeasurable. Take the love that you have for your child, or your partner, your loved one, or your pet, or how much you love a particular dessert, or anything it is. How can you measure something that is abundantly overflowing in its giving nature? And there's this beautiful story of an Indian milkmaid that makes this point that I felt to share with you today. And it's about a milkmaid who is delivering freshly gathered milk to the people in the neighborhood. And there's a whole team of them. But this one milkmaid falls in love with a man in a particular house on the corner. And knowing that he already has a wife, he's a married man, and he has a family, and knowing that her love is never to be fulfilled, not with him, she still cannot contain her feelings for him. So day after day, she keeps leaving an extra bottle of milk for him, for his delivery. And the following week again, an extra bottle, sometimes two. And then again, an extra bottle, sometimes two. And the other milkmaids notice her behavior, and they point out to her, geez, you keep giving him more than what he's paid for. We know you're in love, but are you even counting how many you've given him? How much too many you've given him over time. And she turns to her team of milkmaids and she says, no, there is no accounting in love. And just makes a point that it's not about counting for her. It's not about counting the losses for her. It's about giving from this overflow of abundance for her. And this story, for whatever reason, has really kind of stayed with me over time. And I remember another time, this is like 20 years ago, I used to do this travel program on a minor TV channel here in Japan. And the theme of this program was ecology and peace. So I traveled to these very far away, remote areas, exploring these themes of peace and ecology. And I believe it was the winter of 2003, freshly out of university. I traveled to Sweden in January. Oh my God, it was so cold. It was like minus 14 degrees Celsius in Stockholm the night we landed. And we traveled up north to the Arctic region, where we went to visit the Samish people. And the Samish people are indigenous to the Arctic region. I believe in like Norway, Sweden, and Finland, that area. And until maybe 5, 6, 7 decades ago, relatively recently, their people have been nomadic, traveling with the reindeer that they keep, because the reindeer, especially during the wintertime, would follow the moss and the algae, the food that they eat in the tundra. And the people would just walk with the reindeer because they lived with the reindeer and they honored the reindeer. And yet, in the middle of the winter, when it came time, they would also do their rituals to take the life of the reindeer, and so that they would have food to eat and leather and fur to use for warmth. They would use their blood in soup and use their horns to make tools and just not let anything go to waste, right? So the director and I were traveling, and we had the honor of meeting with this Samish lady. And, you know, we were very curious to learn about their lifestyle. And I don't believe they're nomadic anymore, but they still have a lifestyle that's very much in tune with the reindeer. And there's just so much love for the reindeer. There's just like an extension of their family. But the director that I was traveling with was very curious, and he asked this Samish woman, how many reindeer do you have? But she wouldn't answer the question. And we couldn't, it was weird. It was like we were miscommunicating. We would ask the question, but not get a straightforward answer. And she would kind of squirm away and change the subject. And so we never learned exactly how many she had. But we thought it was odd because their lifestyle revolves around the reindeer, and they're so very intimate with the reindeer. How could they not know? Well, sure enough, later we learned through some other Swedish people that the Samish people are so connected to the reindeer. They have a way of communicating with them, and they have a way of sharing their life with them. And of course they know how many there are. And of course they know when they have killed one for purposes of food and warmth. And of course they know when one is born. Of course they know exactly how many they are. But they prefer not to count them. They definitely prefer not to talk about them in terms of numbers to a foreigner. And so we were like, oh goodness, we're so sorry. We didn't mean to disrespect their ways. But somehow for me, this Samish love for the reindeer and this milkmaid's love, where she said there's no accounting in love, are linked together. And what it teaches me is this, that when it comes to certain essential, I don't even want to say components, certain essences of life, the essence that which makes life, which creates life, which keeps life alive, and which takes life, that is love. How dare we pretend to count them or measure them? How dare we talk about who has more and who has less? How dare we pretend whose is better or whose isn't? Why can't we just humble ourselves in front of that and honor it for what it is? Something so beyond the capacity of our minds and how far thought and measurement can reach. I'm just so in awe of that. You know, whether it's the Indian tradition portrayed in this story with the milkmaid, or whether it's the lifestyle tradition of the indigenous Samish people, I'm just so in awe of the wisdom that some cultures and some people have had throughout time. And I long to live that way, even in my modern urban life in Tokyo, single parenting 2 kids. You know, I want to be the one who knows what's important and who knows how so important it is that I would know to let my mind and its need to count and measure shut up in the face of something so much greater. And I have a feeling that if you're listening to this podcast, you're one of those people too that hasn't forgotten and that is eager to honor what's truly important in this life. So bless you, and go on not counting and just loving and being with all your might. Thank you for listening. Learn more about me and my Kizuki journaling Mae method at my website, journaling.mae-y.com/en, or find me on Instagram at MAEYOSHIKAWA.